Hello, Warriors. A little early Christmas gift for you. I have the pleasure of speaking with Tracy Shuchart. I've interviewed Tracy many times and highly followed, and she's made some great calls in the energy complex and WTI. In fact, Tracy, God, I have to go back to a weekly from when you really turned constructive on the market, in here.
Yep.
Okay, so, and never really gave up on the bullish argument all the way up. And there's rumors going through FinTwit, Tracy, that you're warning the bears to be short. Do not be short WTI. So,
well, that was because the Saudi oil minister, he said you'll be ouching like hell. And the last time he said that was September of 2020. So after he said that, I immediately doubled down on everything.
It was September. Okay.
All right. So, it was right. It was September 17th, right after the OPEC meeting. And he warned traders not to be short the market.
Right. Okay. So also I saw a tweet, the elections were canceled in Libya. So is most of this going to be geo on the supply side? If things inflame in Ukraine, Tracy, could Putin hurt the global economy? Would there be problems?
Well, I mean, he already kind of is, right, with kind of cutting off Germany from gas, cutting off Europe from gas, right? So he's already causing some, pain in that respect.
Okay. All right. And demand side, does COVID, Omicron change your demand? It seems like everyone's trying to just power through this right now, except Europe.
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously it's hurting demand a little bit now, especially in Europe, because they have more lockdowns. Lufthansa just canceled a bunch of like 33,000 flights. I think everybody's, kind of panicking right now. If we look at, some of the South Africa data, they kind of peaked after 25 days. So, we're kind of in that wait and see mode and to see, kind of how it affects us.
Yeah. So, I have some friends in Canada. It seems like you have to prove you're vaccinated to almost do anything up there in Canada.
Oh, we're completely locked down again.
Okay. Yeah, not like that here yet. So, Tracy, as a technician, and I know you're pretty good chartist yourself. So, we had this big break, right? From 85. Is the market in backwardation? Because up here was when I believe it started to lose the backwardation edge.
Just on the very front end of the curve, it did, and the back end kind of rose a little bit, but we were seeing funds kind of buy the back end. So being that the market, to me, that tells me that the market's still strong if they're buying the back end, because you're paid on the roll, right, in backwardation. Right. So if funds are buying back in the back end, then that tells me that they're still bullish this market.
Okay, so that's in play, and the dollar strength could be baiting. I know that
it really hasn't been, though. I mean, I mean, normally it's not really with oil. It's not really a one-to-one correlation, right? Over time, it correlates, but not, just because the dollar, I mean, oil's been rising with a rising dollar.
Right. So I wonder what would happen. And I don't think the Dixie peaks until about sometime, price-wise, 98 to 100. And I am looking for a bear market in the dollar next year. So let me ask you this: if crude is strong enough to fight the headwind of a stronger dollar, would a weaker dollar change the dynamics of the market?
I think a weaker dollar obviously would help the market a lot more. Well, it would help all commodities, right? So,
right.
You're going to see a rise in prices if, the dollar kind of backs off a little bit. So obviously it'll help. I don't think, again, it's not a one-to-one correlation, but, obviously the market would be able to rise a little bit easier if the dollar backed off some.
Okay, so I look at crude going into year end and, shorten the time frame to a daily. And I think this was constructive, Tracy, when
Yep.
we were getting hit Monday and NASDAQ made a new low and the S&P and WTI put in higher lows.
Right.
So I mean, I could make a case technically 62 to 73 for maybe this would measure 84, but a lot of Ellioticians and technicians are looking to not to fade your warnings and get short up here around 76, 77. You think we're going to blow through there?
I think that we will next year. I mean, I've consistently said that, when everybody was saying it's going to 100 this year, I've consistently said that that's not going to happen because those were all calls for fourth quarter, and fourth quarter is generally, not a very strong quarter for oil. So, my call was for average of 75 for Q4, which is exactly pretty much, where we're at for an average over Q4.
Okay.
But I think going into next year, and when we start hitting, spring and summer, when we really have demand pick up and we're hopefully out of this COVID thing, then I can see, the case for much higher, where we could see, possibly 90.
Okay. I understand that. Could we maybe talk a little bit about something else I know you have an opinion on? Wondering what you're thinking of the gold market going into 2022.
Gold is broken.
Is it broken?
I think the market is broken.
What do you think? A lot of people say gold lost its luster because everyone's buying crypto instead for a hedge.
Yeah, I don't know if I really buy that argument.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I think what really is with the gold market is you have a lot of banks in this market, right?
Yeah.
And they're hedging all sorts of different things. And so, really, they're kind of in charge of the market.
Right, like JP Morgan in the silver market, they're the biggest.
Yeah, I mean, there's too many big players in that market, because if you actually go to like the physical market, and the same thing with silver, you go to the physical market and you want to actually go purchase gold or silver, those prices are much higher than, the futures price.
You pay a lot over spot. I mean, especially, since COVID. I mean, on that COVID washout that we had in silver, people were paying like $10, $15 over spot.
Yeah.
When we washed out last year. So any view, if it's not broken, would you prefer silver over gold? There are, I'm kind of a believer that to have a good bull market in the metals, we need the gold silver ratio to begin to drop again and silver show more relative strength than gold.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's kind of, technically, for a year it's gone sideways, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to break at some points. It looks more constructively bullish than it does bearish to me.
Right.
But
I know, when it, I think it's more about price inaction than price damage, the sentiment in the gold, because it really hasn't been price damage. I think it's people just saying, well, we have inflation, but the hedge didn't work.
Right.
And could it be, I've heard that said, I don't have an original thought in my head, Tracy, I'm just a parrot, but I've heard it say that crude, your bailiwick, is a better inflation hedge than gold. And gold is more of a debasement hedge against currency. So I'm kind of thinking if the dollar peaks in the next month or so and starts heading down, that's going to be potentially drives money into the precious metals again.
Yeah, I definitely would agree with that. I think gold's definitely, more dollar dependent than say oil is, right? For a correlation of moves. And oil has been used all year as an inflation hedge.
Okay. You know, you shared with me a couple positions you had, and I watch them. And I want to compliment you on your trade selection that even though gold didn't do that well, Tracy, um, your, your particular pick, Goldfields,
Yeah, I
really
mean,
held up great compared to, like GDX. Look, there's GFI and there's GDX coming up. See,
yeah.
it's almost like night and day. Is that the currency effect of possibly the South African rand that is buoying this more than say the
Well,
Canadians or other gold shares?
possibly. I mean, I think it's more of, you know, in the mining sector, right?
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
suffering from the same thing, like under investment for the last
yeah,
7 years, right? Of
yeah,
capex.
yeah.
So they're suffering from the same problem that oil is, right?
Right.
So, I think that's why I kind of have all year kind of preferred the miners over, actual gold.
Okay. All right. And do you still have a glow for uranium?
So I'm in Uroy still.
Okay.
It's to me, it's, uranium's a really hard trade. We'll see how it works out, but out of all the uranium stocks, it's, relatively cheap. So your risk reward is pretty good if you want to try to dip your toe into this market.
Yeah, looks like it could have another wave. Looks attractive here. Is this as green as Tracy Shuchart gets uranium?
That's
Uh,
is yes.
that's what I was thinking, Trace. Yeah, if it can make you glow and it's not that healthy for you, I'm interested in those assets. So, I want to talk a little bit about what you do at Hedge Fund Telemetry, and you have a following, and I interview people that they go, oh, Tracy, she's so sharp in the commodity market, like Harold Malgrim and people like that. So how are you enjoying being with Hedge Fund
So
Telemetry,
yeah,
and
it's
what's your
great.
role there?
So I am the material or energy and materials um, market strategist.
Okay.
So you can find all my notes under energy notes.
Okay.
Um, I write there, it's twice weekly. I do a big report, like a 45-page report on Sundays, kind
Yeah.
of to
Wow.
get you into the market. And then, I do oil inventory supplement where you see the oil inventories. And then, there's kind of other posts in between, depending on what's going on. Like if there's a big OPEC meeting or something like that, then I'll do a write-up on that.
So why don't we just kind of be like Nostra Schuchart, Nostra Pinkert, and look ahead into 2022 and say you just landed here on Earth. Where do you think the best opportunities are going ahead into 2022?
So I still think I love energy and materials.
Okay.
Still, I think that theme is going to continue. And also, agriculture is another
Oh,
one of my big themes
how,
for
how do you
22.
play it? How do you play it? Do you buy those ETFs like soy and
I
corn?
like actually I'm in DBA, so which
DVA.
is just a basket of
Oh yeah,
most,
DBA, of
most
course.
actively traded futures contracts, right?
Right,
So I'm
right.
DBA, and then I'm also playing it. I'm in IPI and MOS, which are fertilizer companies.
Okay. Yeah, but when you talk about inflation, it wouldn't matter how much the Fed tightened, they can't print corn.
Well, exactly. And that's kind of what I've been saying. It's, you can't really like, we're going to have inflation because we have, all these supply chain issues, all these shipping issues, and the Fed
Right,
can't fix that, right?
right.
The Fed can't grow food. So,
That's right.
they can throw a lot of, QE, twist, whatever, they can throw a lot of money at it, but, that doesn't solve the problem. So
Well,
I do
okay.
foresee inflation continuing. I am an inflationista
Okay. Well,
for the
let
commodity
me let
sector.
me let me admit my age. I've seen this movie before, and you know what? Because corn was in a bull market, in the late 70s, early 80s, like most commodities. And Volcker went on his tightening campaign, and it took sharply. I mean, other things were falling apart, but he couldn't break the grain market until rates just got to, 15%. So, and I don't even know if that was the cause, but people were selling everything because we're in a liquidity type crisis there
Right.
in the early 80s when Volcker, the great liquidator, was taking rates up. That's the only time I saw them. And it took a lot. It put us into a deep recession just to, we had win buttons, Tracy, whip inflation now. And Volcker did it.
Yeah.
What do you think about Powell? When do you think he'll reverse his taper?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
I
so
think they may raise rates once.
yeah,
And, I'm calling it a one and done. I definitely don't foresee, I know that the curve is saying that there's going to be three, and I don't see it. I think it'll raise once, the market will fall apart, and it'll be done. If he even raises the rates once, it depends on how, bad things get, as far as this COVID thing is concerned. But I do think that, it'll be like, I think it'll be, again, one and done.
another policy error, underestimating firstly inflation, and now reducing stimulus when the economy is slowing on its own.
Right.
Okay, and the other negatives in the economy that are there. And I don't see any flight to quality when the market's down. Bonds were unchanged Monday.
Right.
So they didn't go to gold. They didn't go anywhere. So interesting. We're going to see this drama unfold. It's most likely a policy error.
I think so too. But it seems like, they're just behind the curve, like consistently, right?
Yeah. Or else you think that Biden gave him the green light. Remember there was a debate. Brainerd might have been the Fed
Right.
chair, and he picked renominated Powell. If you were Biden, wouldn't you want to get this over earlier and be recovering into the elections in the fall?
Well, yeah, absolutely. But the problem is, I don't think that it's going to work.
Okay. Tracy, I hope everything works for you and all your readers, subscribers, and people that you help on Twitter, and that every position's a gusher for you next year.
Well, thank you.
I root for you, and the best way to follow you is at Shy Girl. That's Tracy's Twitter handle, and now you know how to subscribe and get her research at the tip of your fingers here, and at Hedge Fund Telemetry. So Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
And Happy New Year, Trace. I look forward to talking to you in 2022, and you have my respect as somebody that is part of my intelligence gathering. So I take your warning. I heed your calls. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
All right, Tracy Shuchart, everybody at Shy Girl. Everyone have a great holiday. That's a wrap. And remember, don't just count your oil rigs, count your blessings. And everyone has a few. Just being able to talk to Tracy, and you guys have money to gamble with, you're blessed. So adios, everyone. Thank you again.